Welcome. This is the YouTube thing where I talk to people that are really awesome, and I'm talking now to Mr. Aidan Hughes, I think one of a modern master of art and a an illustrator, uh, like OG,
Renowned.
yeah, Illustrator Yoda, you know, the guy. So freaking he also did these covers right here. I forgot to the cool little reveal. He did this beautiful album art right here for Massive Attack and KMFDM and of
Oh,
course
you
he.
actually bought a Massive Attack one. I've never met anybody who has.
Oh wow, I love Massive Attack. Blue Lines.
No, no. I mean that particular single, that particular album. It was
Oh, that one, yeah.
there's a bit of a backstory to that one. But I
Um,
had I had a feeling that they were kind of like legally obliged to release that because they recorded all the tracks a long, long time ago, and for whatever reason, I don't know why, but it just got put on the back burner for about 5 years, and then I think someone said to them, "Look, you are legally obliged to release this album." So, but by
yeah.
that time, I'd been on board for like 5 years, waiting, waiting for
Yeah,
them
I was
to.
gonna ask about that. I was like, okay, so like, did it take 6 years, or like, was it an iterative process over 6 years, and that's the final image that came out, or like you got it
No, no.
done
I
and
mean,
then 6 years?
because I had an idea of what I wanted to do right away, which was sort of like homage some of those like really gloriously tacky Jamaican album covers, reggae album covers, which is always like
Yeah,
superhero stuff. So I wanted to put like a Jack Kirby type of spin on it and have in there some sort of like, you know, um, it's like superhero getting rid of these gigantic insects, which sort of like represents Massive Attack, the Mezzanine album cover,
yeah, that freaking whatever
uh,
beetle that
and
is.
and so they had all the roughs and the sketches and everything
Hmm.
all ready to go. And I said, "So are we doing this or what?" And then it'll be, "Sorry, we have to do a world tour,"
Yeah,
and I'll get back to you
that kind of
later. And
busy.
I'm going, it's just like a yes or no, guys. I mean, we could do it on email, but anyway, it took
Right.
forever.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's so weird. I have this like weird etiquette when it comes to like emails and a respectable time of busy time. I don't know. Like I kind of feel it out, and
Well,
I'm
I mean,
I'm glad you stuck to it.
I know there are people out there who, when they're not working, they don't immediately rush to social media. I mean, like
Right?
people say
They
to
have
me,
days for their
yeah, people
email.
say to me, if I send you a book, will you read it? And I say, well, I'll be honest, I won't. I said, because at the end of the day, I just don't want to keep using my eyes on something else. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, my eyes are precious, and
Yeah.
to come away from like kind of 10, 15 hours at a computer to then bombarding your pupils with like more little tiny images. I can't handle it. So I kind of, so in some respects, I am, people talk to me about literature, and I just haven't read a book in years. I just haven't got the time. And people say, yeah, oh yeah, check out these comics. I say, dude, I don't have time to check out anything. So there were like 20 minute space between chores. The wife will come along and fill that space, with
Yeah.
a chore. So yeah,
I feel you.
I watch movies. That's about as much as I can absorb culturally these days.
I understand. It's like, like even getting ready for this and stuff, I wanted to read through the books and ask more, stuff, and then like between cleaning the freaking house, taking out the trash, and then just being in the space where it's like, all right, I'm ready to do anything imaginative. It's
Yeah.
like
Well,
real
it's
life hasn't stopped yet, like, you
one
know?
one of the things about moving out here was, I wanted finally to have, because like a lot of people for the last few years, I've been working from home, and because like in Prague, you're only in like an apartment for maybe 2 years, so you
Mhm.
never really have the chance to sort of, to build a studio around yourself and get the proper privacy. And the place now, it's great. I've got like a pool and everything, like, got three balconies, and
Oh,
it's
that's
just
nice.
amazing. And it's but yeah, I mean, I feel really sorry for people who were locked down during all this, in these tiny apartments, because
Yeah,
yeah, it
it's
must have been hell. Because I got a friend of mine who's got like 4 kids in like a 2-bedroom apartment in Prague. I mean, how on
it
earth do
gets
you manage that?
it's crazy. Like I'm on my sort of like last ish year. I've been cooped up here for like I think 4 or 5 years now, and it's it is kind of weird. It's like to me like I'm not the type of dude to I can only work in my facility. I just take the things and then the space just becomes everything in front of me for like 5 years.
Yeah,
Like
sure, yeah, yeah. I
just
mean,
scrounge and then just stay here.
yeah. Well, it's like working from home. It's not like a big deal for us. It's like not. I think we're one of like a
Just like
massive
YouTube.
group of people who've been working from home for, basically since the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, I seriously started doing it when I bought a house in Liverpool, which is where I'm from, and I moved back there. And yeah, and I basically that was when I first started living my entire life on the internet, and I was just doing bulletin boards and things like that. And then eventually one day, I've been setting up, websites and things like that in like 96, 97.
Yeah, those
And
early
then
internet.
in 99, I kind of remember waking up one day in this new house, going to my PayPal account, and found out I'd made the entire month's mortgage payments while I was asleep,
What? Oh
and
yeah, that early
because I
internet,
just
that
sold
money
T-shirts
internet.
and prints, while I was asleep. And I
Yeah,
thought, well, that's the goal, man. That's the goal. You sort of
yeah, Gold Rush, right?
automate everything, take the dog for a walk, come back, and you've sold 3 or 4 T-shirts. So
That's insane.
yeah, I mean, and I've never wanted to. I did have a brief period when I worked for an advertising agency, but as soon as they sacked me and I went freelance again, I just never looked back. And
Yeah,
I
man.
just love working from home. I don't actually miss all that, you traveling to work stuff.
Yeah, like I mean, was there ever a place like cuz I mean, I thought, I don't know in my head or whatever that you've been in a lot of positions as like an art director or whatever where you got to call the shots and all this stuff other than actually getting the stuff done, right? Or
A couple of times, yeah, yeah.
and
On
like
movies and games and stuff.
is it a tough decision to be that dude when you kind of know from the come up of being one of those dudes? You
No,
know?
no, not really, because I mean, the thing is, it's like, as being one of those dudes, I'm like really, really strict with myself. In fact,
Mm.
my PayPal account's called Aidan's Boss, because even though I work for myself, I still believe in a strict hierarchy, and I still have like very rigid hours. And when people
That
work for
makes sense.
me, they'll know right from the word go. I will not bend. I'll listen to advice, but generally speaking, I will not bend. But I'll take them out for a beer afterwards to explain the reasons why. So
Yeah.
so yeah. But I've never really met. I'm one of these people that if I have some really talented people to work with,
Mm.
it's like some people go, yeah, you can just leave them to do their own thing. But I'm not like that. I bug them. I want to know, how did
Yeah,
you get
I
that good? How did you
it's
get that good?
yeah, see, that's how I knew. I was like, see, we got to talk shop cuz I mean like I I got extra arty after the fact, like but always before the fact I was the ideas guy. All this
Yeah.
stuff that came forward after was just a process of like, man, I don't want to just be an ideas guy. Like I actually have visions that don't look stupid and I can't I can't describe it the way I want to because everything the way I say things is like dumb, but the way I do things is like all techie. You know what I'm saying? Like, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
could somebody tell from your artwork that like you'd be the dude coming out of the bar? You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, I think some of it does look like a guy who just who's just come out of a bar and
Yeah,
done
like
that.
well, a certain sensibility,
But
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 yeah,
no,
like
as I say, I mean, I actually, I do enjoy working with a team of people, and I don't have any problems being in charge. But the thing is, I've done a couple of jobs where, for example, when I did my first digital animation, I just come from like, a sweaty little room with, ink and coffee stains everywhere.
Yeah.
Had no idea, could barely, crop a picture in Photoshop in those days, and
Yeah.
and here I was sitting working with people who work with like Illustrator and 3D programs and animation things all under me, and so thinking in situations like that, you just got to admit, guys, I'm going to admit that all I have is this vision, and I'm relying on you to do all this stuff. But don't blindside me, fill me in, educate me as we go along. And today, I
Yeah.
don't. The thing is now, I don't hire anybody. I just do it all myself.
Yeah, it's kind of like
So
straight up.
it kind of backfired on them.
Yeah, like 80-20, something like that.
No,
Like,
because the first animation I did, I had maybe like, I don't know, 16 different types of animators working for me, from cell frame, digital, editing, all and After Effects and all this sort of stuff. And that now it's, if I'm working with two people, that's like a crowd these days.
yeah, it's like, whoa, we got the whole Voltron right here with like two people and like maybe one dude to like tag it right or something, or the like extra
Yeah.
extra.
So come on, ask me some questions.
Oh,
If you
sorry. Yeah.
could.
So okay, so like when did you know that like art was definitely your thing? Like, that nobody's taking this from me. This is my thing that I'm, bossing
Well,
up on.
the thing was, it wasn't. It was just something I'd always been good at, like as a kid, but more like kind of blowing big bubbles or smoke rings or something like that. It was like a kind of a trick,
Yeah.
that I used to get, the teachers to like me. I wasn't, and then, over the years, I would have big gaps where I didn't do anything.
Mm.
And then I think when I just got made unemployed from this one job, I started doing like little business cards and just like mess around, satirical pictures for my friends. And more people started like saying, "Can you do one for me?" Of course, it's great when they all say that, but then you find out
Then
that
you got to do it.
I want them to pay me for it.
Oh, okay, yeah, right. That's the other
Um,
thing.
but prior to like 1980, I was just doing experimental music, with this guy that I wrote the boot books with, Malcolm Bennett,
Oh, totally.
and just just investigating, tape loops, building sonic backgrounds and all this sort of stuff. And we used to take it out on the road. We did gigs like Joy Division, Cabaret Voltaire,
I was gonna
the
ask
Rue
you
City
about that.
Column. A lot of people on the same sorts of tours in those days.
Man, that's crazy. So like,
I
did
moved over
you?
to Amsterdam, started
Oh,
using these 808s and stuff, and then
yeah.
um, came back to the UK, and like everybody was just so broke. I ended up having to sell all my equipment, all this stuff that
Oh
I
shit.
lovingly built up over the years, this vintage, copycat desks and everything.
That's devastating. Now they just make VSTs out of it.
So this guy I was living with at the time, we said that all we have left at our disposal now is a library card and a stack of paper and pens. So we said we've got to start writing, because that's the only thing we have the equipment to do, to draw. So we came out with Bruce and we started selling them on the streets, and my income went from sort of like zero, sort of like 300, 400 pounds a week, which in the 80s was just incredible. We had like no
Yeah.
publishers. We sold them all on the street or at bars and football matches and everything, and
That's the
people
real
loved
shit.
them, so we kept doing them. And then eventually, by the time number 4 came out, um, it had reached the attention of all these TV and advertising companies in London. So
Yeah,
I
big
moved
time.
down there and just started earning outrageous amounts of fucking money, like TV advertising. And but like, as I said before, like, I'm a workaholic, I'm quite capable. I was already
Right, you
looking
get it
for a
done.
job where I could work 24 hours a day. And so what I used to do was I used to film during the day and edit during the night, and just storyboard as in the back of a taxi from one gig to the next. But
Oh
I
damn.
loved it. It's really good to know that when the pressure's down, you can actually do all that work. And I kind of wanted to distance myself anyway from this idea when you say, "What do? You're an artist," and people immediately think of some guy in an attic somewhere in his underwear,
So,
you know, covered in paint with no money, and he's stuck,
yeah.
with creative block, And I said, I'm a worker, I have an industrial mentality to this stuff,
Yes. Fucking,
It's,
you know.
if I was a musician, I'd be cranking out like remixes of remixes, all
Yeah.
the time, just to keep the flow going.
Where do you think that like prolific kind of, because it seems more like it's like an actual workman kind of craftsmanship thing, less than
Hmm.
so the artistic I have to do this because of dreams thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I totally relate to those people like Jack Kirby, who's basically like number one guy artist of all time. He
Yeah.
do like kind
His
of like
poses.
4 or 5 titles with like kind of like 30 pages for each title a month, And my father
Yeah.
could do 5 paintings in a week, full big paintings.
Like how do you like see in your brains? Like I thought I had a imagination and stuff like that, but it's like words take up this much and then images take up like all this stuff, and if they're cool it's only this much, you know? How do you like hit it that many times? Big
Well,
vision, big
it's
painting.
I just think it's like, I always have this thing called the zone, and it's so important to me. And my wife knows to take the kids far away from me when I'm in that. What's I said when the hand just takes over,
Yeah. It's like idle
where
hands and shit.
yes, where you just sort of like you've done so many shapes and styles so many times over and over again. This becomes almost automatic, and you just go with this like it's like if you just don't think about it, it just comes out.
Yeah. I
It's like you go all Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, like it's weird because I haven't gotten that way with drawing yet. I think every single millisecond, centimeter and stuff, but when it comes to music and it comes to like what a sound needs to sound like 80s-y, I just do
Yeah,
it. Just like boom, EQ, boom, filter, two
sure, yeah.
filters, you know, and it's like one
But
element
there's
done.
so many there's so many elements of art that is open ended, and you've got so many different tools at your disposal now that it's like sometimes you don't know when to stop. When is it enough? It's enough.
Yeah, that's a
And
musical problem too.
yeah,
For
sure.
sure.
And I'm thinking like in the old days, you had this guy who had chisel and some marble, and that was it. You said, "You fuck up.
Uh,
you can't fuck up."
it's, it's just like
There's no control Z with that stuff.
yeah, I whenever I do a painting, I think about the marble guys, and then I'm like, I'm not doing shit, like or like the copper guys, or the dudes who only worked with gold, or you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I
Or
mean,
like
but
those
the thing
weird
is, it's
statues.
also the thing is like, why did Kirby work so much? It's because he was getting paid so little. And
Yeah,
people
it was
said to
like
me, "Oh, why
stacks.
don't you ever do comic books?" I said, "Have you seen the page rates for Marvel and DC?" I said, I'll just give you an example.
Hmm.
I was talking to a guy who works for DC, and he told me their page rates, and it was like $120 per page. And I'm saying, dude,
Okay.
I said, I worked for a magazine in 1987, and I was paid 1,200 euros per page.
Are you fucking
You
kidding
know,
me? And they're
and
just
he said, well, how
snapping
did you do
pictures.
that? And I said, because I learned to negotiate instead of going to art school.
That's it. Man, that's tough. That's tough. I mean, but you know what I mean? It is kind of that. It's crazy. Like just where these lines kind of interact between like street savvy and like art history knowledge and the the applicants of both things in a situation where you definitely need them. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's as I say, you've got to. There's no, but if you could, there are a lot of artists out there, and I'm forever slapping them on Facebook and saying, for fuck's sake, why are you asking people if your art is any good? I said, you should already know that. It's
It's
like,
a tough question.
why do
Sometimes
other
it's
people's
tough.
opinions even matter? I said, you should already know whether it's good because you showed it on Facebook. you know. It's like, if you didn't think it was good, you wouldn't have put it up there, you know.
True, yeah, there is like that public kind of stance whenever you like drop something that is a
Yeah.
bit like it's like 60% confidence and then like the
Yeah, but
%,
it's
is
like
it?
it's like you're more or less saying, like, um, please be gentle. No, I'm not going to be fucking gentle. In fact, I'm going to be harsher because you said that. You know what I mean? You're asking for an easy ride for one of the toughest professions in the world, man. I mean, it's like, seriously, it's not just sitting in your pajamas at your desk every day. It's actually, these days, you've got to be a promoter, you've got to be a Photoshop artist, you've got
It's
to,
like 12 jobs.
you've got to do your own promotions on Facebook and Instagram and all the rest of it. And if you're like an influencer, you've got to learn to do hair and
And look
makeup
good.
and
Yeah.
photography and editing, and so everybody's got so much stuff to do. I just think I've got no patience with these artists who are sort of like working on the same fucking painting for like 4 years. I just don't, to me.
Yeah, I don't believe in years for a painting. If you can't get
Yeah,
the
I'm
vision out in
I'm not
3 days.
I'm not part of that group. And now, when I did my first exhibition in London,
Mm.
there's very much this whole thing of, people wanted to see the preliminary sketches. People
The
didn't trust
process. Yeah.
anybody could produce this work of art in under 6 months. I'm saying 6 months. I said, I just come off a job where I had to do 120 pictures in a weekend.
Yeah, a weekend. I was like, oh, okay, a week. That sounds cool. And then I was like, I was like,
But see things, but those people, those
that's
gallery
nuts.
people, look down on that. And so now when people say, "What do you do?" I say, "I'm an illustrator. I'm a commercial illustrator," because to me that's honest, and it puts me in the bracket of people,
Yeah, a
who are
better
involved
bracket.
in business negotiations and working with clients. And you know, I mean, I have a
Yeah.
great relationship with all my clients, and I've never had one complaint in like over 35 years of doing my job.
That's
Not many
hard to do
recommendations, but
in
no
commercial.
complaints. No, I'm only kidding.
Like, because I know it's
No,
like,
but
oh, well, the tie isn't right. The red. It's not
but there are
red.
still people. There's still people out there who go, So at the end of the day, don't you just want, just do your own stuff? I said, no, man. I said, because the stuff I do for a job is my own stuff. It's like I
Yeah,
enjoy
two
work.
birds,
I
one stone.
enjoy. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's these people I work with, they're very difficult to please. They know that they can go to an advertising agency with proper professionals and whatever,
Yeah.
instead of using me. So why are they using me? It's simply because I have an attitude of that's been built up through commercial negotiations with clients, and
Yeah.
the LinkedIn generation like that sort of thing.
I think also, that code that you're talking about, or, how you don't budge on certain things, it kind of
Mm-hmm.
adds to a certain, I guess, a certain standard of what people can expect from like your character, I think, right? Or,
Sure, no, but let me just say this, that if someone says to me, "Can I have those two foreground figures smaller?" I'll say, "I don't think that's a good idea, but here's what they look like smaller." And so I'll shrink them down on Photoshop and then send the picture back with them on. And I'll go, "You see what I mean? They don't frame the center as much as they did when they were," and they always agree. So I'm still getting to do what I want, but at least they got to see the alternative. And I think
yeah.
it's professional to provide that. Like
Right, yeah, provide
people
the
people
options. Like,
people were really shocked when I first started doing my prints, custom prints online, and they
right.
were saying, "What color is it going to be?" And I said, "Well, what color is your furniture?" And they go, "What?" I go, "Well, what the room where it's going to be, you know, what colour is your furniture?" I said, "Because I'm going to give you a picture that mixed balances perfectly with the other colours in the room." And so they would
That's smart.
send me their orange curtains and their purple picture, their purple settee. And I go, "Okay, well, maybe I should tone the colours down for this picture." And so it's a service, but to me, it's a service of beauty. So, this tailoring of your work as opposed to, this artistic way of, I'm going to do 26 pictures and hopefully I'll sell one. Well, I think it's better to sort of like meet your client first and say, you know, what room are you going to have this? You know? And I learned this from like this guy asked me to do this picture of like a Las Vegas showgirl with two guns lying back on this big red leather settee with a short skirt on, high heels, you know, blasting away like that. And he didn't tell me that like where he was going to hang it. And so I went to his house in San Francisco. I'm looking around for the picture, and I said, "Where's the showgirl, the Vegas showgirl?" He said, "I had to hide it, you know." And he said, "Why?" He said, "Well, because I kept looking at it when I was in bed with my wife." And I said, "You didn't put it in the bedroom."
Yeah, it's like right next to the
Dumbass.
mantelpiece. It's like
so yeah, so I believe I don't know if I'm the only person doing it, but I do like to, you know, meet the clients, get a bit of backstory. You know, for example, one guy says, "I live by the sea," so I recommended 4 or 5 pictures where the colours had that sort of Hockney-esque sort of primary colours to them, you know, as opposed to something dark and gothic that was going to fuck up the view, you know.
yeah, it's like sometimes it's so weird how it is with like, you know, environments that are so red or so blue, how much you want to like dive head first into that space or kind of add some kind of calm with what you're coming in there with, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's
And
like,
it's, you know, it's also, it's, I always say that an artist is only responsible for 75% of the impact of their work, and the other 25% is provided by the viewer. You know, it's, and so therefore, what they're bringing, you know, something that I might like designed completely cynically, might have a really deep and meaningful effect on them simply because of what they've been through. You know.
yeah.
You know, like I did a picture once that about 3 people that told me that it prevented them from committing suicide. You know, that they looked at this picture and decided not to do it. Another guy was going to shoot this bomb in London, and I did a picture for him, and he said, "Okay, I'm not going to do it now. I realised what an asshole move that would be." You know?
Well,
So
see, that's the real work, right? That's actually, you know, well, I mean
yeah,
to me, right? You know, I don't.
yeah, to me too. You know, it's. You know, I don't think I'm actually
The something.
directing. I don't actually direct my work at anybody. You know, it's you know, I'm not really influenced by things. It's just that, like, I think if I had to sit here and think of stuff to do without a client going, "We need these ideas on our desk by Friday," I think I would probably just smoke too much weed and watch porn.
Really? See, I do that through all that.
One of those like little screens up in the corner there. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, one of these is for it. But I mean,
Yeah.
like, that's. I think that's why, you know, I'm getting the results I'm having recently. It's, you know, I probably got to get a little more disciplined in that regard. But
Is that a copy of the book you've got in your hand
oh
there?
yeah, I was gonna, you know, I got all the things and all the stuff, and I even got
Yeah, show it around though,
the
because
postcards.
I can't do it though because the camera's not working.
You know, it's funny. Okay, so you know, on your YouTube, you have that video from, well, you know, representing your boy and
Yeah, yeah.
your friend Malcolm. I actually opened the book like when I was just waiting. It was like, oh, 30 minutes. And I opened it directly to that poem that he was talking about with a town called Early, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The Western one.
And it opened right up to that, but now I can't. Oh wait, there it is. That was that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Freaking. So, what did you draw these with? These were done back in the 80s. I actually wanted to ask you specifically about the 80s. I had a question on
Oh,
my phone
okay.
about that. Um, let me see. Let me see. Tell me about art in the 80s. So, is it really a peak in modern art, or is it just nostalgia talking?
Well, I mean, for me, as I say, the what happened was I came up during like the punk years, 76, 78, and there was a lot of like small magazines like Sniffing Glue and ID magazine that were all coming up at the same time. And you know, I'd always thought, you know, getting a magazine published would be like, you know, really expensive, and I didn't really know anything about printing properly.
Right,
You
it's
know?
all the way up here.
But these guys were just like knocking them out and handing them out at gigs. And I said, yeah, I want to do that. You know, so I did a couple of little magazines, but the thing was, because of these other magazines coming up, like magazines like The Face and Blitz came out. And so you had these like brilliant graphic designers. I was trying to think of this guy's name, but they all basically came from the same sort of artistic school of thinking, you know, as far as like graphic design and illustration went, you know. And it was a very dynamic time for print magazines. Totally, I mean, in those days, working for a print magazine was like being a rock star, you know, in London.
Oh yeah,
And
like that was like the most rebellious medium, or the way that you can kind of,
well,
get something in there.
It was kind of like a backlash against all these like grubby little punk magazines. I mean, the thing is that was the launch, but eventually people want to move on to something glossier and use proper typefaces. And so when we did Bruise, it was like I wanted to look at, you know, when I wanted people to pick it up and go, you know, when was this made? So you
Yeah,
couldn't
so
tell.
official. They should have known about it.
You just couldn't tell when it was made. It's from the 30s or 40s. And we wanted to, and like the original pulps that they were based on were all done on this like crappy pulp paper. And so we didn't want to do it on like the most expensive paper you could get, you know. Yeah. And but just stuff like this, you know, and we sold them on the street. And like, first of all, we tried to sell them through left-wing bookshops. But as I say, people couldn't understand the artwork.
Did they take too much off the top?
A religious magazine or a right-wing magazine or a football hooligan magazine. They just couldn't work out what it was, you know. And I think that was what was so remarkable about those years. You know, people like, as I say, Ian Denning, who did all those great album covers, and you know, because it was, as I say, it was just a revolt against all the little trashy photocopy punk magazines, you know. But yeah, it was a great time, you know. I had my own publishing company when I was like 22 or something like that, you know.
That's legit.
And we did like 16 titles, and yeah, I mean, we were always working, you know. And as I say, 95% of every issue we sold went straight back into our pockets, you know. Like now,
that's a cool
I get like something. I get like, you know, I get a third of 50% or something for my latest.
Yeah, right.
My
the decimal just keeps
deal, you
know? Like over the years, just what, you know. I wanted to ask you a sort of specific question about. I have this question here. Hold up. I wrote down, you have a history of working with words and images together. Is one more important than the other in the grand scheme of like the breadth of your work? Would you say, you know, like you got your image and then you got the word underneath that like takes a certain amount of space? Have you, as you've worked on more and more stuff, found less words or more words?
In terms of like stories or just pictures with a word on?
Like pictures with a word up. Do you find that it kind of, there's a sort of relationship between how the word plays off the image?
Sometimes there is and sometimes there isn't. You know, I mean, sometimes, you know, we're doing stuff for KMFDM, they won't have even come up with the title until I finished the artwork. And other times I've done the artwork and then they call the album after the artwork. And so it's always kind of different. And you know, for me, the challenge is to get away in some ways, you know, to get to a place where, you know, the artwork is so universal that words just aren't necessary. They speak volumes, you know, across the globe. You know?
Right. The word doesn't like pin it down.
I tend not to, you know, when I draw in pictures, I tend not to get too era specific. You know, so people go, because people still look at my stuff and they don't go, oh man, that's so 90s. You know, no one ever looks at my work and goes, oh yeah, this evokes the nostalgia.
You're right, yeah.
The 90s. And there's a reason behind that, because, you know, I tried not to put anything that would nail it to a particular year, you know, like, because
good move.
You know, I did one of like some people having a fight outside a court, and even though the article that gave me the inspiration for the picture, which was like a family court, a guy losing half his house in a divorce settlement, I suddenly thought, yeah, but I'm not going to put this like 90s spin on this image. You know what I mean? I'm not going to make. And so I put all these like classical buildings, courts in the background, you know, and I put all the guys with sort of like standard haircuts and suits and things like this. And I think you look at it now and it's still fresh, you know. And I but
Yeah,
the other, you know, but other like the other day I watched like the Terminator, the first Terminator,
mm-hmm.
and like the leggings and the big hair and those
The
shoulder pads.
surgical
It
face.
it makes it makes it laughable now, you know.
Yeah, you see that little, clay face, and then the into the water with the
Yeah, but you know,
eyeball.
but Linda Hamilton's outfits, I mean, they're just laughable now. And you know,
Yeah,
and I
the
think in
hair.
some ways you should try not to to date your work if you possibly can, you know.
It's so crazy because I mean, in the space that I'm known for, like, I kind of have to wink, wink, nod, nod. This is the '80s, or wink, wink, nod, nod. This is the '90s. But just like what
Yeah,
you were saying, it's like there's a constant that you can apply to like certain things that don't freaking anchor you to an era or anchor you to a specific sound that was probably only used within 3 years of that
yeah.
era, you know?
No, I think you can still do both, you know, because it's like now. The other day I
It's
was
more
listening to
acceptable.
synthwave,
Yeah.
and you know, in a couple of years, one of my kids will go, "Oh, that's so 2020." You know what I mean?
Yeah, people
That's so
already do that.
2020, even though
So
it's based on
2020.
1980 stuff. You know, so
Yeah.
I don't know. You know? But you know, it's I just think I like to defy genres, and I like to defy you know, any categories that can sort of, you know, because people say you do propaganda, and I go, well, I don't really, you know, it's
Yeah, there's elements. It's like yeah, but they're not. It's not like,
yeah, you know,
you know.
to me, it's a great picture has to be, you know, you have to sell it like a movie poster. Look at a movie poster and go, so who's in this, and what are they doing, and where's it set? Well, that, you know, the movie poster is supposed to kind of like say that, you know.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is is like, you know, providing, if you like, a portal for your imagination that is uncluttered by these era specific details. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
The
because I that's everyone else's stuff. That's not your vision, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
like
I mean,
him.
you just have just. I think you owe it to the viewers of your work to be able to give them room to breathe within it. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, especially with music. You know, you find something that you know the rhythm will like enter into you as though it's almost like your own personal heartbeats, you know, when you're on that level, you know.
Mm-hmm. And when there's
And
enough negative space to like gel
yeah, yeah,
into
yeah.
that, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, it's Oh, do
Go
you
ahead.
want another question? I got more questions if
Yeah, go
you
ahead.
care for some
Sorry, I'm
more.
just gonna get my nose.
Okay, no worries. Let me see here.
Sorry
Uh,
about the camera. I put my makeup on and everything, you know.
yeah, no, it's all good. I
Got
actually
my
had a good
Epstein blue
idea.
dress on, you know.
Oh, what? Say again?
I've got my Epstein Bill Clinton blue dress on, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Oh, you got those paintings in the back? you know.
Oh yeah. I mean, if we're going to start doing those now for clients, you know.
Hey,
No,
right?
that was great result with Ghislaine Maxwell though. I've been following that Epstein
Yeah,
stuff like since day one.
I
You know?
applauded that shit because it's like, even though it's just the beginning of it, and she got hit with it and stuff, it's like then all the after stuff comes out, and the stuff with the prince and all that. I heard about all that too. you know oh,
Yeah.
don't talk about it. Don't bring it up,
But you know, it's going to be interesting to see how relations between the US and the UK change if he does be forced to appear in court. You know, I mean that would be more interesting than the trafficking case, especially from my
Oh
point of
yeah,
view.
because it's like what, it's like American Crime with a dude that's the dude,
well, the British royal family is like a crime family. You know, you fuck with them, and you will disappear. You know,
Yeah, like the czar or whatever. Stuff
allegedly.
stuff like that, right? Freaking okay, I got more questions. Let me see. How was it working on the Shine art? How was it working on my, weird portrait from the emails, internets? Was it
Are
fun?
you
Did you
doing
do
what
any?
stuff? The portraits?
Yeah, when I hit you up for the first time to
Oh yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
commission for the Scattle portrait for the Shine single.
Yeah, yeah, right. Actually, yeah, yeah. No,
Did
I
you,
mean that's my day to day. I would say that like
oh,
these days,
portraits?
about 50% of the work I do is portraits. You know, and
Nice.
the thing is, you know, I love the human face. You know, like some people would like, nah, I'm gonna do portraits, but
I'm a
I
real
love
artist.
the
Yeah.
human face. You know, and you know, especially with if I can like talk to the client and say, you know, can you just put the light here because you've got this really interesting nose, and I want to see the shadow, and then they take a picture and
Yes,
send it
the
back.
shadows.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, it's once again, it's the interaction with people, you know. I mean,
True.
you know, because they don't know how to take their own photographs, so I'm sort of like sending them diagrams. You know, light must be here. Why don't you stand in the window and turn your face this way
Yeah. You know what also is kind of the
by
gift of
email.
sorry. Oh, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
No, it's but as I say, you know, it started like a couple of years ago. I had like a bit of a spell of unemployment, which you know most artists will recognise, and
Yeah.
I don't know where it came from. I think I just did, I think like a LinkedIn portrait for a friend of mine. Oh no, that's
Mhm.
right. No, actually, it was a couple of people who worked in the office where my wife worked with KPMG, and I did them, and then put them up on Facebook, and people just started. First of all, it was like dribs and drabs, and then, you know, like for example, like just over December, I did 14, you know, 14 portraits. I've got another three to do this week, you know. So it's
Dang.
very lucrative, you know.
That's crazy. Like that, man. That's like machine. I get
Yeah, I
so
can.
OCD on those portraits, man. Like,
But when you've done so many, it's like you reckon it's like you have there are facial types, you know what I mean? And it's like
yeah, it's like a
and
Rolodex.
you go, oh, I know where this is going, you know what I mean? So it's but you know it's taught me so many things, you know, how to do like realistic hair, you know, and then because I'm only working in a couple of colours, it's really taught me, you know, what you know little tricks you can play, and you know how to make people more attractive and things like this without while still keeping them looking the same, you know.
Right? You remove wrinkles, you remove shadows, and then it's like two dots. Two dots.
Yeah, but
Little mouth.
you know, for example, you'll get like somebody who's got like really interesting brows, not their eyebrows, but their brows. But because of the
Oh, like
lighting,
the
you can't
skin of
see
it.
that.
Yeah.
So I just like basically put like a shadow so they have a more um, prominent look. Yeah, yeah, that
Like
sort of thing. You just
Batman.
get a bit of dynamism, bit more attractiveness, you know, and yeah, I mean, it's really funny because a lot of you know, every time on LinkedIn or Facebook now, I'll go, I recognise that portrait. So people are using them for their Facebook profile pics as well.
Oh, that's dope. I mean, those things go a long way on like Twitters and Facebooks and all that.
And also they're quite affordable for people as well. You know, I mean, you know, like
Yeah.
most people can't afford what I normally charge for like an illustration, like I do for KMFDM or Massive Attack, but they can afford something like this, you know. And
Yeah.
so you come on, they go, you know, oh, I've been a fan of KMFDM since I was 12. Can you do a picture of me and my wife? Yeah, no problem. Send it over. And, you know, it's good, you know. It keeps me happy, keeps the kids fed, and they've got something, you know, they can cherish for years, you know.
Yeah, I'm really glad like you came through and I swear, like the next day, the next day it was done and I was like, "What? This isn't even real. Nobody else did that." Like and I've commissioned other artists that like I do this for a living, but like it's never been like this where it's like I'll email you 30 minutes later, done deal. Next day, it's done. It looks great and I'm putting it on the thing, like it's
Yeah,
never
yeah,
been
no,
that
that's
fast ever.
yeah, but
So,
I you know, I as I say, I come from that thing where is, you know, you have a deadline, and not only do you finish before the deadline, so that you have some time to look at it and go,
Yeah,
hmm,
assess.
yeah, maybe change that a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I am pretty well. I suppose you are as well, a bit obsessive compulsive in the way that you treat your art. You know.
Yeah, it's just got to be right. It's weird. Like I don't have little like OCD tendencies with like doorknobs or three times and all that shit, but like when I go in to do something that has my name on it, I'm gonna do it right with as much time for me to just drill in where that laser goes. You know?
Yeah,
Does that make
but
sense?
yeah,
Like,
but it's yeah, you've got to have it perfect. You know. I
yep.
don't think you're the sort of person like me that just go, yeah, that'll do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But,
because it won't leave me. It won't let me sleep until like
exactly,
I've
exactly,
triple
yeah,
checked. You know,
exactly.
like
To me, it's like losing my keys or missing hours a day. It's exercise.
yeah,
It's
no
plaguing me.
wallet.
It's in the back of my mind. You
Yeah.
know.
So that's it's just crazy like how oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to get too caught up in other stuff, but I wanted to ask you about like some specific things about like your art style and stuff, if that's okay.
Mhm.
um I noticed you use a lot of, well, I call them combs or triangles or zigzaggies. um
Spikes.
Spikes, yeah, spikes, that's cool. Freaking, when did you come across using like that sort of dithering to shade your thing? Was it kind of to save your colors, but also to add like a shape edge thing?
Yeah, well, yeah, it was all to do with like the printing and how we could afford it. You know, I mean, I
Right.
didn't want to
Cut
use
some
tan.
corner.
You know, and
Or
looking at all the comics and everything, I'd thought of like, should have used dots. To
yeah,
make something look rounded, should have used
halftone, halftone.
dots. And
Mm.
then I tried like really scratchy repeatograph feathering, and then I suddenly thought, reduce it down to the basics from black going through to white gradually, and then just came up with the spikes, And I used to go crazy with them at first, and put
Oh,
them up and
everything
down,
had it. Yeah,
put them
that
up
I noticed that. It started to.
everybody's leg had like a million freaking spikes down the side, and so I kind of cut that out for a bit, and I only use it now when it's really necessary, But
I, oh,
but then I found out later, after I'd been doing it for a while, that there was this guy called Lind Ward and
oh yeah,
another guy called
Spike
Franz
Master.
Masserio, and they'd been using the spikes in like woodcuts, So I got
Yeah,
books
that's
of
like a woodcut. Yeah.
woodcuts out, until I got a wood, with a wood block and stuff like this, and I was like, ow, and
Yeah.
there's
See if it
blood
works.
everywhere.
Yeah.
The
It's
guy's going like, I've got a deadline tomorrow, and I'm there with like, bits of like liquid wood trying to repair all these messed up bits, So
yeah,
I didn't bother
liquid.
with that, But then I found this thing called the Japanese calligraphy pens,
Oh.
and they could do these beautiful swirling spikes, And so I started using those, and I still use them today.
Like, do you do those just by like coming in at an angle and like how those calligraphy pens do
It's
where
just
they
like it's just like a nylon brush. See, like what I don't like about traditional brushes is they
mm,
lose the point. You have them for a while and then the
spray.
point all spreads out. But these nylon ones, they're just like, I've got one here which is
Always.
25 years old and it's still as sharp as a hair, at the end. And
That's
so
nice.
I started using those, and great control. And I've even got like a set of spikes which I've designed myself. I actually put them up for sale, which I
Oh,
use
nice.
for all sorts of stuff.
Hey, I have a follow-up question for that. I saw that YouTube video where you were spray painting with like both hands, like ambidextrously, and like freaking.
No,
Um,
it wasn't spray paint. It was felt pens, Sharpies or something.
oh, my bad. I thought for some reason, but that's still pretty impressive. Crazy. Do you still draw like? Have you ever done that more times than that? I mean, I'm
Oh
sure,
yeah,
but
well, I mean, I learned when I was working in Seattle on a computer game. I used to get like an in tray with all my week's work,
mhm.
and I looked down these things and I said, Jesus Christ, in a week? And he said, yeah, it's 250 pictures. And I was like, I've
Jesus.
never done that much. And so I was sitting there going, and I said, you know what? This isn't that difficult. So I picked up a pen and just basically matched it with the other hand. And then after a while, I could draw different pictures with each hand. But I
That's
could,
crazy.
But I can't write my name. I can't write my name, do my signature with my left hand or anything like that. You know,
I
it's
tried
just
that.
the art.
I thought that tested like that's crazy because like I didn't know you could separate the two because I always tried drawing with my left. I mean like writing with my left hand, and I couldn't do it. But I never tried drawing as if it was a different thing. I thought I can't write. It cancels out. I can't use this hand. You know. So
Yeah. Well, no, I mean,
how
as I
long did
say,
it take?
it's normally only when I'm doing something like wings, or, for example, if I'm doing something that is
Symmetrical.
like coming out at a certain angle from a body, you know, that you really only can do it with two hands, you know, especially if you're doing live art. It just
Yeah.
makes everyone go, yeah, like when you do it.
I mean, it's just crazy. It's like it just makes it that much harder to fathom, like at one time, you know. Freaking.
Well, like, well, you know, once again, I would never have discovered I could do that if it hadn't have been in this like commercial, deadline-driven environment, you know. And you know, it's just like
That's pressure.
you know, I used to say to my art students, you know, it's not freedom you need, it's repression. And they said, what do you mean? And I said, well, I said, it's only when, you know, you really have to stretch your talents. Do you know how big they are, you know? And when someone's
Mm,
telling you you can't do something, or they want it done in an insane amount, short amount of time,
yeah.
that like you don't know what you're capable of. But like if you get like a client, like some of the clients I've had, they go, take your time and do whatever you like. I'm just sitting there with my head in my hands going, I
Is it
don't
done
know
now?
what to
Is it done?
do.
Is it done? You know? Yeah.
They go, this is just a picture of a naked woman with a machine gun. Well, you said I could do anything I wanted.
Right. Yeah. And you know, it's like, well, minimalism was also a part of that range of possibilities and simplifying, you know.
Yeah.
And that's
No,
crazy.
it's no, you know, I find it inspiring. You know, I mean, sometimes you get great ideas from people who've been thinking about something. You know, they're not in the business, they're not creative in any way
They've
at
been
all.
thinking
But they've
enough,
been
right?
sitting with an idea sat in their head, and I'm very, very good at visualizing those things for people. You know, in fact, that was my when I worked in advertising. That was my job title was visualizer. You know, sitting with the clients in
Oh, yeah.
advertising,
They tell you. That's
and
it.
they go, right, this is what I want, and you're storyboarding it, the ad out as they're talking. You know?
Right. Just
So
print it out. Yeah. Just.
yeah. I mean, yeah, they say, you know, I want that on my desk before I leave. You know, and everybody else would be like sweating, and I used to go, but you know, they're just thinking of like what you know they can impress this guy with a great drawing. I'm thinking, no, this guy just needs like a set of standard shapes and where people are walking in shots and things like this. You know, he doesn't need, you know, like a really fantastic. He's
Yeah,
not
it's
Steven
never as
Spielberg.
complex as the artist thinks. Whenever it comes to a person wanting to get a certain type of things, it sort of like comes down to almost like, you know, what you know from pop culture, what you can take in with yourself to be able to draw, what you can execute within the time frame, and then also
Yeah,
like, am I
but
dead
it's you
tired?
know, in musical terms, it's like someone saying, you know, in a room, you know, oh yeah, I want it to be a little bit romantic but tough and hardcore, and then the guy starts human beatboxing and goes, "Do you mean like this?" You see, that immediate, you know, that in the room, right there, live, you know,
Yeah,
that's exactly what I want,
right.
you know, and I think you know, an artist has to be, especially if you work in the commercial zone,
Hmm.
the ability to visualize their work sometimes by vocally, you know. And one of my
Mm.
greatest heroes is John Cristofalucci, who did Ren and Stimpy,
Oh,
because he would like jump up on the tables and do all the voices and the sound effects and everything while they were in the script meetings, you know. He didn't just write down the jokes, you know, he acted out the cartoons, you know.
yeah. It's almost certainly like in my experience, it seems like the more of an actual character that the artist is, the more that they can kind of transcend that feeling of the juice that actually goes into the thing with it. And
Yeah.
whenever they leave, you can see it. You can see it in freaking Iron Maiden when Derek Riggs isn't doing it. You could see it in other characters, or you know, even in SpongeBob when the creator kind of left to do his thing, and then it
Mm.
started getting polished and it started losing the the real, the real of
Yeah,
it. Um,
yeah, for sure. Yeah. But as you know, as I say, it's when I was teaching students in Washington State, there was a period when I mentioned telling one of these stories about how I had to take matters into my own hands when some big clients wouldn't pay me. One Christmas, it's like an epic story. I don't know if we'd have time to tell it here, but anyway,
oh yeah,
it
tell it.
ended up with me being thrown out by like security guards.
What?
Um,
How so?
but I actually did get my money in the end,
Hey, well,
and
that's good.
so anyway, at the end of the presentation, I said, okay, we'll do a Q&A, and all these hands shot up, and everybody wanted to know about the payment. How do we get paid? How much do we charge? Who should I be talking to? How do you get contact? Nothing about technique or KMFDM or anything, because they weren't being taught these things in art school, And I'm
Oh
saying, well,
wow.
it's fucking scandalous. I said, it's a fucking jungle out there, man. I said, you can't just throw these little fresh kids, sprinkle them onto the media world. I said, they'll just get eaten alive. And uh,
Yeah.
and so I spent like an hour with them, telling them about everything from like invoice process and if they work for magazines, how long they expect to wait before they get paid, as opposed to record companies, and they just loved it. That's exactly what they wanted to hear.
Yeah, I feel like that's the actual real skinny on like the skills needed to flourish or try to flourish in that actual area where they want to be instead of just like, well, and when you grow up, there's going to be certain expectations that are just like perpetuated through the school system, but not actually based on a real life expectation of a working professional.
But let's face it, who are you being taught by? I mean,
Yeah, that is the problem.
if the people who are teaching you aren't professionals who've been in the industry, then you should find another teacher. I was taught by English teachers. None of them had ever had a book published.
Mm.
So what the fuck are they going to teach me about the publishing world?
Yeah, like it's just so many ways that you can even get into something while still learning on the learning level
Yeah.
and be even more of a leg up than just I'm far out. I don't know how to get into this. I'm still out here, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but the thing is these days, you've got like, YouTube videos and tutorials and things. And so you don't
Yeah.
really need these assholes for a lot of it. I mean, like I had two English teachers, sorry, two art teachers. They basically just used to sit there smoking, while all the kids drew. Not one lesson, just draw this apple. That was it. And hand your apple in at the end of the day.
Ah, that's
It's like,
like
yeah, and then I just said to this guy one day, I said, look, you're not teaching me anything. How about you just give me loads of free paper and just let me put me in a room on my own. And he said, yeah, he said, it's like you're easily going to get top prize and everything. So yeah, just do what you want. Then the next day I went to the sports teacher and said, the art teacher says that I don't have to do sports anymore. I can just go and draw instead. So sports teacher ran over to him like that. He had a little word, and then he came back and said, "Yeah, no more games for you. Off you go." So I got like 3 times more games lessons than art lessons than any other kid in school.
what? Wow, that's great. Like it's like you stacked up the time somehow like
Well, yeah, I mean, I put it to good use. I mean,
it's like that
I
10,000
think
hour time. Yeah.
you know, you just got, I think you've just got to build your arsenal. It's artists and musicians. We're not like footballers and supermodels. We don't sort of like kind of tap out at the age of 30. We're still doing our best stuff. In fact, even better stuff when the older we get. When you've
Yes.
amassed all those that armory of ideas and stuff that you can use or readapt, over and over again. I mean,
Yeah,
to be
like the
perfectly
shapes thing.
honest, I haven't got like a massive vocabulary of stuff that I use. I do return to the same themes, and I tend to use stuff that I know is going to work. Some people might say that's lazy, but
Yeah, is
when
it
I
or is
look
it
at it
effective?
financially, the times when I've tried to do another style, those prints don't sell. They just want the Aidan Hughes brute style, and so I'm happy to give it to them.
Yeah, like that's kind of where I've set, like, because it's like, at the beginning of all this, I started like, I have all these ideas in me, and all I gotta do is just do it the way that, the people in those styles would have respected it if I hit them every single way I should hit them. And then after a
Yeah,
while, I just realized I was doing what everyone else was expecting through a kind of, uh, I don't know, like, what's that word? You just kind of grabbing little different bits, but like cumulatively, I'm
yeah.
becoming that bullshit that I wanted to avoid by doing all this stuff.
Well, I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but I think that it's kind of a mixture of both, because the thing is, what you're actually doing is you're typecasting yourself a little bit.
Hmm.
It's like someone saying, it's obvious people are going to go, oh, I like that last tune you did. What I want is another tune that sounds like that.
Yeah,
Well, you
that
can,
happened
you
yesterday.
can you can understand that. It's like I came here, I bought my mother a jumper. She really liked it. Can I get another one? It's
Yeah, it could be
it's
just
just
that
standard.
simple.
But to me, it's like you make that jumper really, really fucking good. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
don't go, oh, this I'm just going to knock it off easy because it's too easy for me. No, it's not. You don't make it harder for yourself. You still use the beats but you've earned those beats. People who constantly reinvent themselves, that's great. But the thing is, I prefer to see someone carry on with an art style, and
And you could
like
see that
like a
vision.
comedian that tells the same jokes over and over again, but it's not the same way. He's knocking little bits off. He's taking the boring silences out.
Yeah, like
He's
iterating
creating
it.
new rhythms for the same joke. And so I think there's a way you can work within that typecasting thing and still produce quality work.
Only recently I've gotten over that hump, because it was like I had this thing where it was just like, no matter what, I didn't want to remake what I did before, even if it was something that somebody liked, because I had this stupid, like, I have this stupid, like, sellout mentality thing
I
where,
know, man. There's a lot of that around, man. How old are you now? How old are you now, by the way?
freaking 28.
Well, you're lucky, man, because you got out of that way of thinking early. I was edgy like that too for a long time. It's
Yeah,
like,
does it mess up your
I did
friendships?
what I
Like,
do. I mean, I'd do one thing that was successful, and then people would go, "Yeah, we want something like that," and I'd be like, "Nah. I've got to, I'm gonna get stale if I do too many things." And a
that's
friend
what
of
I
mine said,
thought.
"Well,
Yeah,
well,
I
why don't you
understand.
just do like 20 of those things and then stop doing them? Instead of like just bitching
Yeah,
about it."
yeah. Get a stockpile. Go to Costco. Get in
Yeah,
bulk, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
go all artsy, crazy acid house.
No,
you
but
know?
it's like people say to me like you just said, "My God, you're so quick," and I'm thinking, you think I don't have buttons on file? You do think I have belt buckles and shoelaces that I've done
Right.
years ago? Just like bring them over from another file, No, because I
Right.
spent a long time doing those buckles and shoelaces, and I'm not going to redo them again. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
they were because they're perfect, so you just kind of use them again.
So in essence, what you're saying is, it's like, if you got to do the same thing again, do it with the same kind of ethos, with like applied quality step up, instead of
Yeah,
just like, here's a poncho, here's a poncho, here's a
yeah.
poncho.
Well, no, I mean it's basically it's like the same sort of thing as like samples.
Yeah.
It's like I look at my work as like kind of um, like classic sample that you can just play around with and come up with something new. But
Hmm.
it's not everything has to be completely fucking new. As in the music industry, you can take an old beat or like a jazz sample or something like that, turn the genre on its head and create something else. But I mean, it's not it's not entirely new. I mean,
Mm.
I don't really think there are that many unique. I don't think I've ever had more than say 4 real big eureka moments in my entire life. But I
Yeah.
think the way they teach art and music, the teachers seem to think that every single fucking time starts on a new piece of work, you have to have this bing moment, where this
That's what I thought
unique
too.
thought springs into your head from absolutely nowhere. You know what I mean? It doesn't work like that, baby.
Yeah, it is really weird like that because in a way, I feel like I kind of took that eureka moment for granted. Sometimes it's like, you make something, I've made fire, and then
Yeah, yeah.
other times the eureka moment comes after it like drills through you and then pops out 3 days later. It's like weird,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I
It's
didn't know I was making an album for my father that passed away until after, my dad passed away, and then I finished the last two songs, and I was like, oh, this is
yeah. It just gives
you
you.
know,
It puts what you've done into perspective. I guess.
yeah,
It's. I think. I think it's. Art. I think is not as such an internal thing. It's.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. I
It's
always
more
say that
external.
like an artist is like the funny guy of like a comedy duo, but he needs the straight guy to throw him some lines, you know what I mean?
Right?
So
Yeah, you got to
so
bounce
he
off
can
that.
drop the singers. And so I think the way that they teach artists is that you're on your own, son. But instead of just like go out there and drink in all the influences. You know what I mean? Copy
Yeah,
things. You know what I mean? Like don't just. But I've got artists. They sit there and they go, I'm trying to think what to draw. What you're just gonna sit there like that, thinking of of what to draw?
yeah,
Now you
that
got to go out there and
paralysis is
sort of like
real.
look at some cars, look at some fucking naked trees, look at some beautiful girls, stroke a couple of dogs, and something
Right?
will hit you. But these teachers seem to think that like these eureka moments
Yeah,
is
the
just
object or
it's
the
like
figure.
turn it on like a
Yeah.
faucet, and it doesn't work that way.
I feel that. There's been times like where I'm in art class and they're like, "Oh, just look around the classroom and find something to draw," and it'll take me forever because this environment sucks. It doesn't kick off my, inspiration gears. But if I was at home and I had a canvas that I bought from Michaels and I was just looking around my house, I was like, "Oh, why don't I just paint a bowl of potatoes just 'cause,
Yeah, yeah, just
doesn't
cause,
hit
yeah.
me like it's weird like that. How much do you think environment plays into being comfortable enough to express yourself to the maximal extent? Because I sometimes I feel limited by my surroundings, like by the city shit or by you know being who
Well,
I
I mean,
am, saying this.
I think I'm not saying that you have to go out um, and sort of like get yourself all cut up and
Oh yeah, no,
busted
no,
up to
not
get
travel the
inspiration,
world and shit. This is just a separate
which
question.
I have actually done.
That's okay.
So, but I still think that you do need something uh, to force you to ask some questions. At least to start a sort of conversation before becoming inspired. And you're not
Yeah.
going to, something will hit you. And it might not just be, it might be like a current event or a news item or something, when all of a sudden it hits you because it's on a personal level. It hits,
Yeah, that level. Yeah.
it's like, since I've had kids, just like I don't tell certain jokes anymore. I find it hard to watch certain movies. But
Yeah.
I don't think I could imagine that, unless I'd had kids. So
Yeah, you couldn't project to that place without
yeah,
the circumstances that just, whoa, you know what I mean? Like, don't do that.
and also there's this thing like service. You might find that something where you can do something to help people. Like I did some like homeless shelter things. I've just done like
Oh,
anti-gambling campaign,
cool.
and you know they're not particularly like my ideas, and that would have just like popped into my head if it hadn't been for the fact there was people who needed some sort of help.
Mm,
And
yeah.
then that gave me the images. But yeah, I just don't think it's healthy to just sit there and expect these ideas to just like come out of the void. They have to be triggered by something, even if you're sitting in the house, it's to be triggered by a news item or something you see on Facebook.
Yeah, it's almost like if I could describe it in a sort of weird poetic sense, it's almost like a pre-poetry you have to have and feel before you even translate that to an image that will translate on a level that, like reads. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah. Well,
it
you
comes down to.
certainly have to. I mean, but you can, but at the same time, you can do things like quite cynically, and as I said before, people will
Just to
see
bounce
it
off of it. Yeah.
through their focus, through their lens. So even if you're trying really hard to make people see your point of view, sometimes they'll see another point of view, but it doesn't mean that they're not getting it. It just means they're seeing something from their point of view.
Yeah, is that the whole artist thing? It's like you create the stage to put that
Yeah.
person there to see all this instead of just this is what it is, you're here, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's good as well. It's great to be able to represent things for people who have suffered certain things. But the best thing is when you can get that across to people who haven't been through those things. And that's your main audience. I
Yeah.
mean, someone who goes, Jesus Christ, I hadn't realised what it must be like to be, stranded on a fucking tiny little lilo boat in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
Um, and I think only art can do that.
Yeah, it's got this kind of vicarious thing if you actually do it right and like I don't know, have you found, through I know you've done the art thing to death to where you don't even have to draw to old inspirations to do what you do. But has there ever been like a old world artist that has kind of anchored at least some kind of uh how do I say it? Like way that you go about working or like some kind of inspiration from that
Well, like
place. I know you're
as
such
I
a new
said,
guy, but
well, yeah, like Kirby, as I say, is my inspiration. He always has been, simply because
mm,
you know
he's strong.
every time I get tired and I'm working late, I'm thinking about just Jack Kirby sitting there in
With
the
the neon.
basement, like
Yeah.
a little light and an old desk, hammering
That's
the shit out. And yeah. So yeah, and also just these people who are involved in like um, the early 1930s British transport artists. They called them the Grosvenor Group.
okay.
And
Who are
these
those
were
guys?
people who were like, they were asked to come up with a whole futurist vision for the London Underground. And it just went across everything, not just posters, but like
Oh, like
station
forever.
designs, even the fonts, which they still use today, were all invented during this period. And then the fantastic London transport map, rail map, which is like a design classic. And it all came from this group of artists in London in the 1930s, Eric Gill, people like that,
Yeah.
Eric Speed, just brilliant artists. And then you have the constructivists, I mean, they were the artistic force behind the October Revolution in 1917.
What's
And it
that?
was an art-driven revolution, and like Mayakovsky, who's another, I almost think of him as a mentor, because I followed his career so much, when I was a teenager. But,
So
he would produce 1,000 hand-painted posters in a weekend.
how do you 1,000? I like counting to 1,000 hurts my brain right now. Like, and some dude like painted, framed, stacked, 1,000.
A big stack of paper, and four paintbrushes,
I don't even yeah, like see that's the thing. That's that's like, my artistic romantic thing. Like I wish there were more like artists that kicked off a revolution type of artist or like artists who did things that like threw them in jail type of artists. I thought we'd see more of those guys in like 2020 instead of like, oh, there's a shark and it's in
Yeah,
formaldehyde.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I
Well,
thought we'd be
it is
seeing
what
more
it
like
is.
rebels, like
The thing is like, when we were doing Bruce, we picked up on all these different art groups.
hmm.
It's quite easy because there weren't any distractions like there are today.
Yeah,
It's
they were
like
like in it, right?
yeah, I mean, I look at NFTs now. I've got some NFTs out, and
Oh yeah.
they send me the link, to see where my art is on the page, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I look at this other artwork and it just depresses me, man. It makes me want to put a fucking bullet in my brain. The
Oh, you've
artwork
seen
was
the other
so
NFTs, yeah?
fucking bad, you know what
Yeah,
I
the
mean?
monkeys.
Really bad. I mean,
The
it's a sort of like, yeah, the graphics that you would get on like a 1970s fucking fruit machine,
Yeah,
you
you
know,
get
and they're
those on
not there.
Pogs. You remember Pogs from the 90s? Looks like some
Yeah,
shit you
yeah,
put on a Pog or some shit you'd get from like some like new wavy Spencer's-y store. And you pay 50,000 to 75,000.
yeah. I mean, I don't get it. You know, I mean, the thing is that I
Gotta
don't
get that
like to
money.
see my artwork up with that other stuff. You know, and maybe I'm being elitist or whatever. But you know, it's sort of 18 pictures of a cartoon gorilla with its tongue out. I saw one like the other day,
Yeah,
which
have to
was
have it.
just a range of toilets with different shaped poo in them. You know what I mean? That you could buy. I mean,
Wow.
what the
And it
fuck?
and it was at 50 grand or something stupid, right? Or
No,
200,000.
I didn't even try not to look at the prices for
Oh
these
yeah,
things.
the prices it's like one hit and then the art just like
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, it's you know, because like normally when you have a gallery, you know, you have it all to yourself or a website or something. But you know, just seeing all these like different horrible fucking shitty pictures
yeah,
all
it's like they're
together
made to be
on one
plastered.
page. Stop, you know.
Yeah, like it is. It's so weird because, I do have this thing in my head where it's like all artists of all kinds, of all types can live together in harmony and all this shit. But then I definitely feel a way when I see some artificial looking ass shit for a marketplace that only does something with money and only, you know what I mean? Like it
But
only gets to a
it's not
certain.
so much the money aspect. I think what the problem is just there's just too much of you know there's too much art,
Yeah, too
there's
much
too
mid.
much music, there's too many movies. You know, it's like you'd have to live to be 1,000,000 years old to just watch the stuff that Netflix has got on. you
Yeah,
know,
oh yeah,
it's
just
just
watch all of it.
yeah, it's because I love movies, man. You know, I've got like a film group on Facebook, and like I actually rely on other people to watch stuff because I just don't have the time to do it. You know,
Right, yeah,
it's
get the real
I
recommendations.
used to watch like 2 or 3 movies a day. Now I'm asleep. I have 3 courses through all of them. You know.
Yeah, I sleep through one that's like an hour 30 and I'm like, wow, like I couldn't sit through Purple Rain. And that's when I knew I had a problem. It's like I used to
No,
binge
you
through
really do.
movies.
You really do have a problem, dude. If you can't sit through Purple Rain at least 5 times,
I
like me.
I just went to sleep. It's like, see, that's the other thing. It's like art has a different timing. It's like the whole thing with time and art and even comedy and like comedy, art, and all these things. It's like they all have their own timing and how much they would allow from somebody spectating it or looking at it?
But also the other thing is, it's right. It's like okay, it's really easy. If you want to see visions, if you want inspiration, right,
Mm.
what you should do is eat some hot chilies, turn all the central heating on, and get into bed with loads and loads of blankets on top of you. I guarantee, man, you'll be hallucinating your tits off within like half an hour. You won't even need drugs. And and I noticed this right because like I was in
That's
Amsterdam.
wild.
I
Mm.
was I was like detoxing from a drug habits, and I was
Okay.
watching this film called Bobby Deerfield with Al Pacino,
Mm.
and I was crying, man. I was like in tears. I was going, oh, "It's the most emotional film I ever watched." And I said to my friends, "Oh, watch this film, man. Bobby Deerfield and fucking punched a hole in me like you wouldn't believe." And they go, that Al Pacino film about the racing driver is not that way. Even Al Pacino says that film is terrible. And I watched it years later, and they were right. It was a fucking terrible movie, you know. And I
Yeah.
thought, but what was it? What was it? And I realized it's because I had a temperature.
Oh,
It
you were
really
like
was.
104.
Yeah, yeah. It was, and I was all hot and sweaty, and really do believe that in there somewhere is a question about art, you know, about your opinions and things like this. It's like what is the best temperature for a rational opinion of art?
Yeah,
But yeah,
true, right? What is the sane enough
yeah,
criticism or,
sure. Yeah.
review?
I mean, can we be trusted to review things if we have a cold? It's
I mean, yeah, I guess that's, that's a given, right? It's like, it's almost as sane as the artist is, how what
Yeah,
is beauty in the eye of a crazy beholder, or is it
yeah. Busy in the
only the
eye.
sane beholders that are given
Yeah,
to
this
knowing?
this film has given me great symptoms.
Yeah, freaking. I'm sorry. I got a couple more questions. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I wanted to ask you because it seems like your art's kind of informed by, I'm just gonna jump for it. Is it sort of informed by like a Warhol-ish sensibility? I know it's not straight up, you know, but I feel like the use of the hard hitting colors, freaking.
No, not really. I'm not a fan of that type of art really.
Is
It's
it
yeah,
lazy?
my stuff comes more from like the artists of the 30s, 40s, and 50s. You know, that more lithographic,
That
especially
hard
like
boiled.
constructivists. You see their stuff is like red, black, white. You know, printed on this like yellowish paper, and to me, that's
That's
better
dope.
than Warhol. I mean, what I do appreciate about Warhol is this kind of like Sex Pistols attitude of, you
Yeah,
know,
the fuck all,
of conning people and
Yeah, the
and
Ritz.
reproducing loads and loads of stuff that isn't even printed by you or anything, and
Yeah,
Mark
like
Pauline and
it's
people
like
like this because they're
untouchable.
making great revolutionary jokes about the suckers who fall for this stuff, and
Yeah.
I think that's fine, but art style, nah. I
Yeah,
mean, I
I
don't
never
think
was, yeah,
look,
amazed by that part. Yeah.
Warhol and Banksy are the same type of artists. I mean, it's not about their art style. It's not. It's
It's
not about
about what's said,
are they
you know,
good drawings. It's
overall.
about the jokes and the concepts. I think more than anything, and I kind of admire that. I mean, Picasso did like tea towels.
Hmm.
And he designed curtains. And
And the plates.
Mayakovsky, he designed sweet wrappers,
Hmm.
and matchbox covers. These are the people that I admire. Um, the art is great. It's like a joke, but I mean, I'm just more impressed by the workman-like attitude of these people.
Yeah. Did
Uh,
you like Keith Haring and what he did with the pop shop and stuff like that? Or what do
yeah,
you think
yeah,
about that whole era of like zigzaggy 80s
yeah, and
fun?
Basque and all that stuff. It's all great stuff. And
Yeah.
it kind of like I saw the film about Basque and it kind of really uh, you know
Yeah, he put in work.
it kind of like reminded me of when I was starting out, when we just sort of like give books away, or I would do artwork for drugs and things like that, and then
You
people say to
hustled
me
through it.
years later, hey, I've
Yeah.
still got one of your pictures on the wall, and I go, show me the picture, and I go, I don't remember doing that. Go, yeah,
Yeah.
man, yeah, I gave you 2 grams of coke for it when we in
You
Chicago, and I was
should.
like,
Yeah.
I don't remember that, man. That's a Basque move.
Yeah, like it's crazy. See, but that's why I asked about the words thing because it's like when you go really, really far back, it's like Warhol did stuff with words, Keith did stuff with words, Basquiat started off as a poet,
Yeah.
and it's just like there is a relationship to words and the people who can figure out the image afterwards. So it's like I'm
Mhm.
so I was trying to figure out like, like
But
maybe
then
one does help the other,
the thing about Bruce is it's just like it wouldn't you couldn't have the book without the images, because like you really need to,
Yeah,
because the
you
thing is
sink
it's
in
like
like
it's an extra joke, because you
yeah.
read the stories and you think it could be about like a teenage guy, and then you see the picture and it's actually like this like huge
Some cowboy.
56-year-old alcoholic,
Yeah, yeah, like it primes you up like charismatically in a way, like like
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of ready
Yeah,
to
well,
read. You know.
we wrote like a lesbian story, and like one of the lesbians was just this like enormous thug,
Yeah,
and
this real.
and
Yeah, I
and
get
the,
it.
and the, the magazine we wrote, we said that's not what we had in mind.
Right? It's like, well, that's why we write it. That's why it's here. And I appreciate those decisions. I appreciate the decisions to do the ugly thing of something that hasn't been represented just to kind of get it out there that that's out there too.
Sure, yeah. I mean,
Sometimes
you know,
it's like just the pretty version, just the one with the colored hair, just the one with the shaved off. You know what I mean? Like the
yeah.
the
But you know,
pandery
it's
one that's not pandering.
when we were doing Bruce, there was um, a lot of people saying, you know, these gay stories, they're going to upset people. And I said, well, I know lots and lots of gay guys, and they have like a really, really rude sense of humor. You know, I
Yeah.
said, yeah, really rude and pornographic jokes
Yeah,
and
the
stuff like
real
this. You know, I
stories
said
are
they're gonna love these stories, and of course, I was right. You know, and this
yeah.
one guy said, yeah, I really wish, you know, like, you know, there was gay writers writing this sort of stuff. You know, and I said, well, go ahead. You know, it's. You know, it's quite
Right?
easy to start off a little book, you know. It's,
Right. People got to get their toes wet with some of that shit because it's like it is really easy to just sit on the side and say it's brave. But to write it out, take the heat for years, and
yeah,
then, oh, well, in hindsight, it actually was forward thinking and it actually said some stuff for people who didn't speak up for stuff. It's like, yeah, that's why I did it.
sure. I mean, not
You
everything
know?
has to be like serious, you know.
Yeah,
It's,
I know. I just,
you know, I like hanging, you know, one of the things I like hanging out with bunches of girls in Liverpool, and they are just like hilarious. But you know, but their stuff is just like so scatological and rude and sex based. But like, if a guy were to write those jokes and those characters, you know, he'd have to think to himself, oh, hang on, am I going to get in trouble for this? You know? And so what he
yeah.
does is he just doesn't write the characters at all. So there's 6 actresses who don't get a job because he's frightened of maybe, you know, being accused of misrepresenting somebody, you know.
I never even
So,
thought about it like that, but yeah, that
well,
is a
it's
good
great
point.
if diversity is great, but if it creates people who are so paranoid
Yeah,
to
if it
write
creates
stuff,
division.
yeah, if they're too paranoid to write it, then that means it doesn't get written, and people of color or, you know, diverse groups or whatever, they don't get the job because that guy never wrote it because he was too scared. You know, see what I
Mm,
mean? It's like kind of
yeah.
it's working against. You know, like after Me Too, I read an article with some human resources people that said that their bosses were basically saying, "Don't hire any women." You know.
Oh, just
Just
because of
basically
that pressure.
well, I'm saying, well, no, it's a case where I don't sexually harass them, you know. But they
Oh,
were getting,
yeah. Just in this
yeah,
workplace,
just
it's
don't
going to
do
happen.
that, you know.
Yeah.
Hire them, just don't sexually harass them. But I think also, it's even though they're wrong, if you think that like that's the, you know, if people who are saying, you know, I actually have got no problems with these people at all,
Mm.
but you know, I want to avoid any possible legal stuff that may arise, you know, and I think that that has to be addressed a little bit, you know.
Yeah, I think, there is a kind of a shielding, like a sort of white knighting to. That's what I actually wanted to ask you about. Like artist and the kind of, God forgive the term, virtue signaling, kind of thing where it's like, is that is that a sort of job of the artist to kind of alert to these types of issues or to, you know what I mean? Because the preachy line is always something I never want to cross, but I
It's not
always,
very entertaining, you know.
yeah,
This is
I want to
the
say
thing to me.
something.
It's like I'm a left winger, but when I was in the Labour Party Young Socialists,
Mm.
you know, as soon as those meetings split up, I was away. There's no way I was going for a drink in the pub with these people because they were boring. You know, it's like they just saw everything as like a victim issue. You couldn't talk about housing. You couldn't talk about education. You couldn't talk about employment because everyone just wants to talk about who's being victimized. You know, and
Yeah,
I'm saying, you know,
it's
we should be
dumb.
talking about the strength of the workers, not like all these weak people who, you know, it's not,
Yeah,
I don't
like
mean
instant
weak in that sense,
spotlight.
but like unrepresented people. It's bringing down the, you know, it's bringing down the mood. It's almost becoming like, instead of like a celebration of workers' solidarity, it's becoming more like an encounter group or something like that. Or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, almost like a
Like
kind of a
therapy.
pity
You know what I
party,
mean?
but not so strongly like that. But you know, it
I'm going back to like the 80s though, you know, and you know, I am political and I am, but I'm more. I think as I get older, I'm more like civic minded now. You know, I think that, you know,
mm,
the problems that we are facing are bigger than just very, very small sectionalized parts of the community. We need to be massing together
It
now
takes a
under the
big
banner
focus, right?
of workers, And
Mm.
also we need to be getting, finding out how we're going to get universal basic income to all these people who are going to be walking out of their jobs.
Yeah. Another thing I was thinking recently was like it's almost it almost seems like a moot point to want to identify the problem and use that time that could have been used to just kind of extinguish or attempt to extinguish the problems that we know exist. You know? It's like, oh, this is
Yeah,
happening. What about him? Oh, this is happening. What about him though? Oh, this is happening. What about
yeah,
that?
yeah. I mean, it was actually all this sort of separation and division of the opposition was actually invented by like a Russian guy, an artist actually.
Hmm.
And basically, what he showed was, if you get people fighting amongst themselves, then you don't have to destroy them. And that's what's happened to the left wing. I mean,
Yeah,
I've like quite a few left wing friends on Facebook, and all they do is like a safari, just going around headhunting, trying to find sort of tiny little thing that could be perceived as misogynist or something like that, instead of talking
yeah.
about the main events.
If you're
I think
not
I
a
can't believe you're talking
Superman,
about that. The fucking
the
world,
flex.
one side of the world is in flames for fuck's sake. And
Yeah, like it's really weird because I used to be like that. Where it's like, look for the problem. Oh, he's definitely a piece of shit. Here's the reasons why. But then it was like, it was just from a very simple basis of like, I don't want anybody to judge me like 360 off of like two things they seen on the internet.
yeah, or
And then I
something you did
slowed
like,
down.
I mean, it's if people are getting closure, then that's fantastic.
Mm,
But the thing is, as an artist, I like to paint in like pretty broad strokes. And I think
yeah,
that
applies
there's
to
just
life.
too
It's
much
all.
micro attention on stuff. It's important. It's important. Of course, it's important. But the thing is, it's not just the only thing out there. And I
Yeah,
get
just
very
problems. Yeah,
yeah, it's very difficult to even
just
get a
beauty.
left winger to talk about jobs. They just don't talk about jobs or education or the health education,
Yeah,
health
housing is a big one
system.
still for them.
But it's always got to be about you know um, anyway. Have you got
Okay.
any more questions for me?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I got like six more. So I just wanted to ask, just because I'm curious, yeah, what's your relationship with Sasha, aka Captain K, like these days? Do you chat often about random stuff?
Well, we chat more now. We've been doing the NFTs, but I would say normally it's just album to album. We spend about 2 weeks discussing what we're going to do with the sleeve, and then about another 2 weeks, um, honing the pictures. I mean, we used to live next door to each other in Seattle in the 90s, and
Oh, tough. I didn't know that. Thought you guys were
yeah,
always
yeah.
remote. You know.
Well, no, he was like, I'd moved there to work on a computer game, and he was in Chicago, and he said, well, what's it like out there? And I said, Seattle is fucking amazing, man. Get out here. So he moved into the same street,
Oh
basically,
shit.
to mine.
Oh, that's
And
great.
used to see him occasionally, but I didn't like his wife. I thought his wife was weird.
That's funny. I
Yeah,
just
no,
wanted
not
to.
this isn't Lucia, by the way. This is like one he was with back in the 90s.
Oh, someone else. Okay.
Yeah, no, Lucia is very cool, very cool.
That's great.
Um,
Cause oh,
but
sorry.
yeah, I mean, he lives in Germany now, and I saw him a few years back when he was here playing. Remember touring? My God.
Yeah.
And
Right.
but yeah, and I keep. He said that he's going to play in Prague this year, I think. So hopefully have a drink with him. But it's when they're on these tours, it's not like the old days when you go for a drink with the band and party with them afterwards, because
It's
they're basically straight back in the van and
yeah.
off to
It's
the next gig.
one extra thing. Right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's so that's normally, well, I don't, a couple of times people said to me, "Oh yeah, we're playing. Come backstage. It's going to be great." And you go backstage, and the band have like already left 10 minutes
Yeah.
ago.
You're like,
You're just left
Where's the
there with the
shot?
salad,
It's like, where's everybody?
But
Yeah.
I bought them all these drugs.
Right, yeah, like, oh, where's the drugs? Where's the, It's like, show's over. It's closing
Yeah.
time. Yeah,
No, but he's a good lad. He's getting old like me now. So you know, we're just trying to make ends meet. As we get older, it's tough.
Is is it as much as a rebellious thing? Like, do you still feel that connection to your art where you feel like you got a sort of a stranglehold on the next, I guess, rebellious thought or something? Or was that something that I conjured up in my stupid head? Like,
No, I'm
I feel
just
like you guys are the rebellious guys, you know?
I'm just kind of like angry like all the time over nothing.
Yeah, he's just mad and angry.
The local animals are just scared stiff of me, and just basically always on the cusp of exploding into rage over something that I've read.
Yeah, something on the news, like
on the internet, that can't be right, you mother,
Yeah, and that's what comes out.
Yeah, the kids are completely used to me now, just sort of like spluttering with rage and then calming down. But the thing, it's funny because like you still always have these like revolutionary thoughts, and I've always gone on and on and on and talked about the futurist revolution, and how
then the world's just like
embracing Bitcoin and the internet and everything, and universal basic income. But the thing is, when you get old, even though you're talking about the future, you still come across as an old man shouting at clouds, even if you're not talking about cool stuff, And
yeah, they are cool concepts, and it's still just like
yeah. But it's like I talk about the education system all the time, and how it's freaking wrong. That why are we teaching these children to be useful members of the community and to get these horrible fucking jobs as though it's so great to have these horrible jobs,
we should close it down.
You should say to people this, Christian, if you didn't have to work, what would you do? With your life? And we should be engaging with these young people to not talk about fucking jobs at the end of their education all the time, because the rate for getting a job, even after you spend all this money on education, it's like worse than the divorce rate. It's
10%.
You're getting less and less and less opportunity to make a life for yourself. You can't buy a house. You can't afford to date because you're working too hard. And I want my kids to not be involved in any of that crap.
Yeah, and plus, with the Epstein thing, it's like if it goes back to frickin' Harvard and all those fools getting funneled money from daddy, then it's always gonna be this frickin' like, not to mention how people's minds kind of get sculpted in that environment. I see how fools get down when it comes to they're all in a university, and like, and fools will do those like those YouTube interview videos, like dude on the street asking people random shit, and like they're still like dumb, and they're at the colleges and they're doing all this shit. It's like I don't have my GED, but I can still recognize when they're not using their like full capacity for something that's a big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, robots are going to come and take people's jobs, and that's a really good thing. You don't want to do those fucking jobs anyway. Those jobs suck,
Yeah, so leave the soul sucking to things that don't have souls.
So what they should do is bring in all the robots, tax them as though they're workers, and give the money to people in the form of universal basic income, So
that is smart. You could redistribute that.
Huh?
I was like, that is smart, because you could redistribute that, and then like the funds that are over excessive for companies who could afford a freaking robotic fleet could actually do something.
It would make more sense than just taxing Google, because they've already done the math on this. If you tax Google and you tax Apple and you tax fucking Elon Musk and all the rest of them, it still wouldn't make one fucking dent in the problems that we face.
Like $360 trillion of world debt.
Exactly. It's just
something crazy.
It's just not going to make any sense on that at all.
Yeah,
So we just need to move forward and find like an organic way. If people are still going to exist on this planet, we've got to get them out of this work mentality. It's destroying us, you know. My
yeah,
father hardly ever had a day off. He had 3 jobs. My mother had 2 jobs. You know, we never went on a holiday together, even if we could afford a holiday. And we always wore second-hand clothes. We didn't have a car. We had a rented flat, and that was in the '60s. You know, I mean, it's
that's
like
real.
boomers. Are you kidding me? I mean, they're fucking broke. You know, and like, you know, and like my mum would always say, you know, oh, as long as you're working, it didn't make any fucking difference what a horrible job I was doing, as
Mm.
long as, you know, she could tell her mates that, you know, that I was working. So, isn't it better to tell your friends that your son is happy as opposed to, you know, working some horrible, shitty job, you know?
Yeah, like maybe maybe that was a product of the time, but maybe that was also like a thing that identified someone's I guess stake in like the
Yeah, but
social
it's
whatever.
just a way of validating yourself by saying I earn this much. You know what I mean? It's like not about
Yeah,
your personality
it's
or anything like
jello.
that. You know? But I don't know if you follow anti-work on Reddit, but
I've
that's a
seen a
really
couple things.
huge growing group of people who think just like me, telling their employees to go and fuck themselves. You know, like
Yeah.
I've got a good anti-work story. I worked for an advertising agency, and I signed on um, for this wage as an art director. And
Mhm.
when I got my first wage, they'd slashed a third of it, you know. And I
Oh,
said, "What's this? You know, you cut my wages by a third. You know, you can go and fuck yourself." You know, took my check,
yeah, just
I
that?
walked out, and then like 50, like 2 days later, they phoned me back and said, "Can you come and work for us as a freelancer?" And you know what? I made sure I charged them treble what I normally get paid. You know
There it
why?
is. There's the vig.
Because because fuck them. You know, because
Yeah.
you're trying to save it. You know, you're gonna bleed out if you play that game with me. I'm telling you.
Yeah, like it's like, people always try to like do this thing where they cut something out and then like, they realize the quality of the work that they already devalued,
Yeah, I mean,
and try to
especially if you're locked into a project and they can't start again. You know, it's but yeah, there's you've seen a lot of that. You know, people just sort of say, "Oh yeah, well, we decided we're not going to pay you this week. We're having, you know, yeah, companies having a hard time, you know." And then they drive off in their Mercedes for a weekend holiday. You know.
yeah, that shit. It's like, oh, we ain't got it. We ain't got it. Freaking 5 golf clubs and, and 3, expeditions to somewhere on a yacht.
Anyway, I've got time for one more question, and then
Okay,
I'm going
cool.
out.
Okay.
So I've
Well,
got time for one more question, then I have to go out.
thank you so much for your time. Let me get this one. Is there a let me see, but let me see. Snap. Okay. Is there hope for the future of artists in like the true essence without being tied to technology? Like, do you think that the old artist that like just does what they do, like a Goya, and does their stuff, and then they're dead, and then their greatness will be found, or do you think it's really tied to the promotional aspect, getting it out there now? It's just a done deal.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's always going to be some guy slaving away in some Shetland cottage somewhere without an internet connection who's producing amazing stuff, you know. But somewhere down the line, his work's going to be photographed, scanned into the internet, and you know,
Yeah.
but you know, but you have to say to yourself, you know, all of these things are just tools, you know. To me, using Illustrator is exactly the same as using a big bucket of paint. You know, it's just like another way of producing imagery. Which
Mm.
even if your oil painting is all like full of like big knobbles and lumps of oil,
Yeah.
it's
Static.
eventually you're not going to see any of that when it goes on the internet. But how else are you going to advertise the exhibition so that you can come and see the big lumpy oily thing? You know?
Yeah.
So
Just
you
flat,
know,
flat.
we just have to work hand in hand with all the tools available to us. I'm sure if Leonardo da Vinci was alive, I'm sure if he'd had 3D Studio Max in during Leonardo da Vinci's days, he would have been using that. And I'm sure Andy Warhol would have been using Photoshop, you know. So, you know,
Yeah.
they just used the tools they had at the time. And I think a lot of people they're just so purist. They seem to think that in some ways is better than a JPEG on the internet. Well, I don't agree. You know, I don't agree. It's not about the medium is not important. You know, it's the end image is the most important thing. You know?
Like the end experience.
But saying that, like in Christmas this year, vinyl outsold CDs in the UK. You know, so
nice.
there you go. You know,
big win.
You know, and so you know, there's still always going to be room for, you know, old school, old music, old style of art. You know. Anyway, that's my Uber has just arrived.
Oh, well, thank you so much for your time, Aidan. And
you too, Scattle. Nice to meet you, mate. Finally.
Oh, yeah,
and I'm sorry about the
talking.
camera. You know, it told me it was working, and then, you know.
Oh, hey, no worries.
Okay, man. Have a good one.
You have a great one, man. Thanks again.
Have a good year. I'll speak to you soon. Yeah.
Happy New Year, man.
Bye bye now.
All right, bye bye.